Just one rabbit or two rabbits in this household?
One rabbit.
Just one.
Yep.
Let's see. How are you? We're at 4.6. You were told this is a Rex?
Yeah, dwarf Rex. No?
It's a dwarf, but not a Rex.
What do you think he is?
He's probably a dwarf, just by the ears.
Just the dwarf they call him?
Yeah, he's probably a dwarf. How old?
He's about 5.
Yeah, definitely dwarf. Yep. No, the face and the fur of a Rex is completely different. And very, very noticeable. They basically feel like the softest pillow that you've ever seen in your entire life. Yep.
What do you got?
4.6. What are you shedding so much? What is that?
Let's see if let me feel anything. Could you do a scruff and scoop here?
Doing so good, Bun Bun. Good job.
It's a little bit of nasal discharge. Have you seen that?
No, sir.
Have you noticed any sneezing?
No.
Well, keep an eye on this nose stuff, because rabbits can get snuffles, which is a rather nasty infection. It also has a little tiny bit of discharge in the corners of the eye.
Huh.
Let me just make a note.
Yeah, I haven't heard him sneeze ever.
It's all over your fur. Yeah.
He's shedding again, huh? He usually does that at the beginning of winter, not now, so.
Yeah. So, rabbit diarrhea. Let me just kind of ask what your mix of food is. You do Oxbow foods exclusively?
Well, after he started getting the runs, I switched to senior Oxbow. It's for senior rabbits.
Yeah.
I'm told they don't live much longer than 6 or 7 years, so
Yeah, that's pretty old.
I guess he's a senior. He's
Yeah.
like 5 or 6.
Yep. So that's a chow that you're talking about. What
It's
about
the dry,
hay?
it's the dry food.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What about the hay that you're using? What kind of hay?
It's the I forget what class, but it's the stuff that they sell over there at that supply store on Route 12.
Is it
Is
Timothy hay? Or other grass hay, mixed grass hay, or is it alfalfa?
Yeah, I get the whole bale.
You get the bale.
Yeah.
It may be that you'll want to find out whether or not what the exact type of hay is, because you're going to want either a mixed grass hay or Timothy hay, but definitely not alfalfa.
Not alfalfa. Okay.
Right. Too much calcium, they tend to
Yeah,
develop
that is a
urinary
sample
stones.
of it. If that helps, I don't know if that is.
The stuff here. This.
Yeah.
It looks like mixed grass, but find out for sure.
I sure will.
Yeah. All right. Now, sometimes not getting enough hay is a big part of the problem. Do you think that he's eating primarily the pellets or the hay?
No, he barely eats the hay. It's always the pellets. So.
That's what it's about. So without the hay, the roughage is what makes the gut move normally. And too much pellets will wind up causing GI problems as far as motility is concerned. Sometimes even diarrhea, depending on what it
Wow, I didn't
sometimes
know
causes
that.
bacterial overgrowth, and you get into other things. So a stool sample is going to be really important before we just start shooting wildly at this.
Ah,
You know,
okay.
good fresh one, you know, representative of the problem. Where was I going with that on the diet? So as far as how much pellets to feed, should be about a quarter cup per 5 pounds of body weight. So for him, quarter cup. That should be about it daily.
For the dry food?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do a half cup, 1/4 in the morning, 1/4 at night, and I cut that in half, is what you're saying, huh?
Basically a quarter cup total a day for the pelleted food. But that's assuming that he's making up the difference calorie wise with the hay. Unless we can get this guy eating hay, we're going to probably have ongoing issues with diarrhea.
Huh.
So a high quality Timothy hay, even try Oxbow's Timothy hay, just to make sure we're getting the right stuff fresh.
It's just for feeding, not for putting in the bed.
Exactly.
So I get it now.
I wonder
Okay.
if we can do something else in the bed so he'll be able to to figure out what's what.
Right. Well, I'll put it in this food dish. The Timothy hay could go right in the food dish if you think that's a good idea.
Do you think that he would use an alternative type of litter if he didn't have hay? Do you think he'd use like aspen chips or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. He's been
Maybe we're
using this
trying.
for so long. I don't know if that will mess him up or.
Because the kind of hay that is baled, it can have lots of problems, including little spots that have fungal things growing,
Uh huh.
and so that may be a player in this as well. I would say get some definitive high quality Timothy hay. Let's see if he has an appetite for it.
I sure will do that. Thank you for saying that. They did not say that at the Humane Society. They didn't mention that at all. So
There
thank
are
you.
a lot of folks around that are dealing with exotic pets these days in terms of any medical issues.
Yeah, it looks like you have.
Until I die,
You have
it's going to be rough after I retire or no longer doing this because it
you
just
see
nobody seems to be
crocodiles
into it.
too, huh?
What's that?
You got pictures of iguanas, crocodiles, all octopus, all these cool pets.
I
in
was
there.
a alligator researcher before I was a vet, so yeah, that's legit.
Ah, cool. Have you ever been to Animal Adventures over in Massachusetts? It's maybe 2 hours away.
No,
But yeah, the guy has a little mini zoo and he has giant ball pythons. What's the other one? That get real big. Anaconda, maybe?
yeah, the anacondas, reticulated pythons, Bernese pythons. They all get
Yeah,
big.
that's what he had, right. And then
Yeah.
he had a couple alligators, and he does pretty good. So,
As long as he's keeping them in good natural enclosures, a lot of the things from Florida, the roadside stands were just. When I was down there doing that research, were horrendous. It's just.
well, that is so cool that you handle exotic pets. That is cool.
It is. It's interesting work. Sometimes
Can I see how far you cut down on the nail? I always feel like I'm cutting down too far.
Whoop. Well, these are pretty long too.
Yeah, he's crazy. He'll jump from anything.
There you go, buddy.
So how do you know without looking at the underside?
Well,
You're
he's
just-
actually given me good
you can see
things
the
because you can
quicks.
see the quicks. He doesn't have black nails, so it's helpful. But yeah,
What happens if you cut down too far?
he'll just bleed.
Will it freak him out?
It probably will hurt him. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just kind of like pricking, or if we cut too far into our fingernails.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's not gonna kill him, but I mean, try not to.
Right.
If you want to, you can just do the shaves. So you can just start small and just keep shaving down. If he'll allow you to do that. I had the element of surprise on my hand, huh?
So as I was carrying him from the bathtub, I gave him a bath a few days ago. He jumped straight up like a circus act up into the air, and I had to catch him in midair. So he's crazy. He will jump sometimes and be a kamikaze rabbit there. So.
Oh yeah, no, they do that. Huh? You allowed him to do a bath? Mine hate baths.
Yeah, he's gotten used to it.
That nice warm water in here. Too cute.
So the reason I say aspen is a hardwood chip instead of a pine chip. And pine and cedar are just not good beddings. They're too have aromatic issues that can be irritating.
So where do they sell that, sir?
Agway.
Agway. Okay.
Yeah. So that might be.
Did you write that down so I don't forget the name of that?
Aspen. Yeah, let me get that for you.
Thank you. Aspen chip.
You want this one?
Yeah, actually, this might be a better way to not lose it.
I'll get you a paper too.
So I'll write down.
Thank you.
Rabbit stuff.
Aspen chips. Let's do Timothy and Suzanne Hospital. We're sorry for coming up.
That's my excuse, huh? I just came up with an excuse so I could cuddle with the rabbit more. I have 4 at home, so.
You do, huh?
Yeah. I've had rabbits for a long time now.
Hey, you're good with them.
I love them. I understand. I do. Yeah. I can pick out the breeds pretty good. But this is just a review about some
thank
stuff.
you.
Just kind of like confirming that you are doing the right stuff, and if not, then you can like, oh, okay, well this is where I can go with that.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, and also since he is a dwarf, surprisingly, the smaller the rabbit, the more likely they'll actually live longer. So I've heard a lot of dwarf rabbits can live up to 10.
Wow, good to know. Well, thank you.
So yeah, I don't understand why the smaller the rabbit, the longer the life, but that's what I've heard.
Well, thank you.
Mine have only lived to be about 8, so but yeah, you get a couple more years. Hey. All right, should we go back in?
All right, so
Nipple.
those wraps asked for chicken.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
So I think rather than just You think that he's eating primarily the pellets or the hay?
No, he barely eats the hay. It's always the pellets. So
That's what it's about.
what happens if you cut down too far?
He'll just bleed.
Will it freak him out?
It probably will hurt him.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like pricking, or if we cut too far into our fingernails.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's not gonna kill him, but I mean, try hard.
Today is April 30th, 2025, and the MK Ultra program had the energy turned down very low today, this morning. And then I put something into the oven for breakfast, and then I sat on the floor quietly and began to meditate. And when I say quietly, it means mentally. I completely cleared my mind so that I wasn't thinking about anything, and I focused on my breathing. And my plan was to wait for my food to cook, eat my food, and then go over to my mother's house where I'm helping her repair her retaining wall. Whoever installed this retaining wall on her property did so in the wrong way. They had no drainage system behind the retaining wall, and the retaining wall was connected to a short staircase, a short concrete block staircase that was crumbling, because you do not make a staircase out of retaining wall block, concrete retaining wall block, because it will crumble. You don't use it as steps. So as the steps were crumbling, it would eventually cause the retaining wall to be pulled forward and to fall apart. It was already leaning forward due to the fact that they did not put the first row, the first course of concrete wall blocks underneath the ground. The first course of concrete wall blocks has to be underground. The first row you install, you're not going to be able to see because you would have installed that below ground. They did not do that, so the wall was shifting forward. So whoever installed that retaining wall did it in a way that it would fall apart. And this is a common practice with the MK Ultra program. And they employ people who own construction companies that do this on purpose to cause problems for the future owners of those houses. This is how they bankrupt people and shift all of those people's savings into their accounts. They take everything from them by buying a house, and they might even dismantle a well-built retaining wall and put in one, like I described, that will start to break down within a year or two after the house is sold. And they have one trap like this after the next. They have an endless list of things that they do like this to sabotage future homebuyers. And this is run by the MK Ultra program. So in other documentaries, I exposed men like John Wayne Gacy, who was a well-known serial killer, and another person named Robin Gecht, who was another serial killer. And Robin Gecht was part of a 4-man serial killer team called the Ripper Crew. And both John Wayne Gacy and Robin Gecht had construction and home improvement companies. This is how these serial killers would get into people's houses to destroy their lives, to bankrupt them, and then hope to abduct and kill them. This is what these men do. So I've exposed Robin Gecht and John Wayne Gacy to be members of the royal family of England. These are some of the most rich people on the planet. And this is the only thing that they are interested in doing, is targeting regular middle-class citizens like this. That is their hobby. They like to strut around and act like they are working-class men. And they have all the best equipment to make these jobs go real easy. They have excavators. They have giant drilling machines if they want to install a fence. They have all the best equipment to make these jobs go by real quick. And they charge everybody top dollar for their work. And they know what to do to sabotage whatever they're working on so that it looks good, but it's not done well. Everything that they work on is designed to cause problems later on down the road. And that is a big practice in organized crime. And these people should be looked at as the highest level of organized crime because they are also involved in Wall Street crimes, stock market crimes. They're all involved in the media and basically lying nonstop in the media to keep everybody in the dark about everything. And these people are all aristocrats in Europe. They are all related to the royal family. So do they need more money? The answer is no. Some of these men are worth billions of dollars. They don't need any more money. But they still go after regular middle-class Americans because they are sadistic. They are psychotic. And it's the only thing that they are interested in doing is hurting people. And at this point, this is their hobby, acting as carpenters, electricians, stonemasons, plumbers, home improvement people. They don't do this day in and day out. They do this when they want to target a family which has caught their eye. If there's a young family somewhere and they have 2 little kids, 2 beautiful little kids, these sadistic pedophiles will invade their home disguised as home improvement people or as electricians. So as of 2025, they are planning to do this on a large scale right across America, targeting the middle class in America. And what they'll do is after killing a family, they will take their identities and give it to their operatives, give it to their agents that they are shipping over from Europe, from all over the world. They will give your IDs to their agents, to their MK Ultra agents, who will assume your identities as they move over more and more of their type of people. So I want to document this. Men like John Hines, number 2, also known as Mr. Mayo from White Plains, New York, also known as Dr. Robert DeSena from Marlborough, New Hampshire, also known as a number of different famous celebrities such as Mark Hamill, Mel Gibson, also known as the Prime Minister from Fiji. The number of different public figures and celebrities that this person represented, that this person impersonated over the years is endless. He's probably done thousands of different acts in the media. This person has mild Down syndrome. Mr. Mayo, I forget his first name, and his two sons, Brian and Matt Mayo, all have mild Down syndrome. So it seems when I state on my documentaries that these agents have mild mental retardation, they do not like hearing that, and they want to argue with me in the comment section. They want to claim that they are not mentally retarded. These are some of the most educated men who have made fortunes on Wall Street, in the business sector, in politics, in music, in literature, and in movies. They claim that they are well-trained and skilled professional actors that are all involved in film and the theater. How dare I claim that they all have mild mental retardation? They're yelling through me. For the past 3 months, they've been using radio frequency technology to yell through me, and they're making essentially baby noises. They have done this for 10 years now, but up until 3 months ago, I would only sense them throwing their temper tantrums and having their anger outbursts. Through the radio frequency MK Ultra technology that sets up a two-way communication between them and their targets, it is often called synthetic telepathy. I have heard their thoughts and their communications, which have ranged from downright evil and disgusting to completely idiotic to animalistic. They start grunting and making animalistic noises while they're having a temper tantrum or are consumed with rage. These people are subhuman. They are animalistic. So I've had to sense this through the MK Ultra program since 2012. And now in 2025, they're using this technology to scream through me on occasion. And they're able to do this because they have increased the levels of the radio frequency energy up to the highest levels they have ever experienced. And this is in part due to people like me being able to handle that. So they've increased the levels throughout the years, attempting to hurt me. And I've gotten better and better at dealing with the energy levels. So the energy levels have been turned up all the way, especially using the Event Horizon Telescope program. They're also able to do this by installing silicone implants all throughout their faces and their mouths. They have silicone implants installed in their tongues, in the sides of their cheeks, in the sides of their cheeks, in their noses, in their jaws, on the top of their head, in the back of their neck, and of course they have all of their silicone muscle implants installed all throughout their body. But they're also putting these implants all throughout their faces, especially these older men who do not want to get old. So that, in combination with the increased energy levels, have connected me to these puppet people. These people are androids. I call them first generation biological robots, or greys. Many people who have seen alien beings have said that there is a race of very short aliens called the greys, and they often seem robotic. They say that the bigger aliens appear to be in control of the smaller aliens that walk around like robots. So a common representation of these smaller gray aliens are those with the large cranium, big almond-shaped eyes, and a little slit for a mouth. But that is something like a helmet or a mask, because underneath that, these aliens, these short grays, appear deformed. In fact, they appear like they have Down syndrome. It has also been reported that the aliens are having genetic problems. That is also a common report. The aliens will state that is why these aliens are approaching regular people. They want to experiment on regular people and see if regular people can help them with their genetic problems. So that is not entirely accurate. The truth is that these short grays have Down syndrome. The alien race, known as the Dracs, have abducted and experimented on human beings, and this is what they have produced as their race of robot people. Very short, android-like beings that all have Down syndrome. This is what the Dracs have done with the human race, and this is what the Dracs have planned for every human being on Earth. And the alien Dracs start this process with the aristocrat class. They start this process with the rich 1%, who are all part of these secret societies, who are all part of these religious occult groups, which are the highest levels in all the different mainstream religions, such as Judaism, Roman Catholicism, Mormonism, Krishna consciousness, or Hinduism, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Seventh-day Adventists, all of the Protestant groups. This alien cult, comprised of the most wealthy people, would not fail to infiltrate the Protestants. So that is their alien cult on Earth, the rich 1%. And they're going to do the work for the Drac aliens. And what they do is they practice incest. And for a long time, they practiced incest because the people that they produced through incest were very easy to control. Their offspring, who had mild Down syndrome and other genetic problems, never wanted to leave the home and go off and do their own thing and live their own lives. They would stay real close to home. The only thing that they would do was what the parents wanted them to do. It was also a way to keep their family fortunes within certain bloodlines. It was also a way for them to keep their secrets within certain bloodlines. So they were taught by the aliens to practice incest. It was what worked best for them. So this is what happened with all the different aristocrat families all throughout Europe and all over the world. So even if you have an aristocrat family from France marrying an aristocrat family from Germany, or from England marrying an aristocrat family from Italy, you are going to have inbred people marrying inbred people. And that is called your rich 1%. That is called your aristocrats. And that is what I am dealing with when I describe these agents of the MK Ultra program, such as Mr. Mayo, also known as John Hines #2, and his two sons, Brian and Matt Mayo. These three have mild Down syndrome. So John Hines #2, also known as Mr. Mayo, might state he's been educated, he's a professional spokesperson, he's on the radio, he's interviewed on the news. There is no way he is mildly mentally retarded. So everybody must study Down syndrome, because what I've noticed is that they have many professional actors and people on the TV that all appear like they have Down syndrome, and they have no problem speaking like they are educated and intelligent people. In fact, they are normalizing Down syndrome. I began to notice this with the amount of people with Down syndrome that would be in commercials. And the first several times I noticed this, I disregarded it, as of course they might have a few people with Down syndrome in TV commercials. There is nothing wrong with that. But when I started to notice this again and again and again, and also notice people who appeared to have Down syndrome as spokespeople in documentaries and as famous actors in movies, I began to notice that this is a normalization of Down syndrome.
Wake up. There's a lot that needs to get done today. Small things, big things, too hard to do alone. Day after day, you need to get it all done. And here to listen and help you through it all is Bank of America. With the expertise and know-how you need to reach that blissful state of doneness.
July 23rd, 2015. NASA astronomers using the Kepler Space Telescope announced the groundbreaking discovery of the first Earth-sized planet orbiting a star within the habitable zone of a distant solar system.
We learn that there are places out there that look very similar to our own planet.
We learn that there are places out there that look very similar to our own planet.
So even if life is rare, it should still form all the time.
Game Shakers and don't miss back-to-back brand new episodes of Game Shakers and School of Rock. All starts tomorrow night at 7.
What time is it? Refreshing cup of cold was water. More beef jerky and marshmallow fluff casserole. It's my specialty.
More beef jerky and marshmallow fluff casserole.
Speaking of awesome, I was playing Ponies versus Aliens the other day, and this huge.
And the first several times I noticed this, I disregarded it, as of course they might have a few people with Down syndrome in TV commercials. There is nothing wrong with that. But when I started to notice this again and again and again, and also notice people who appeared to have Down syndrome as spokespeople in documentaries and as famous actors in movies, I began to notice that this is a normalization of Down syndrome. This is going to be a more common thing as these people are attacking the middle class, as the MK Ultra program is attacking and hindering regular people and preventing them from excelling in every field while promoting only their own people. You could expect to see more and more people with Down syndrome and less regular people. And that is part of the alien agenda. That is what is happening on planet Earth. They have tried this. The aliens have tried this time and time again through the centuries. And there has been resistance time and time again through the centuries. So I want people to consider this. Is there a difference between Down syndrome and mental retardation? If you see somebody with Down syndrome, would you say that they're mentally retarded? So what I've noticed with dealing with these people who have mild Down syndrome is that they may appear normal. They may be able to speak articulately. If the MK Ultra program pre-arranges a situation for them, if the British military media establishment gives them the lines to say, they could sound intelligent. But if you take these people out of their comfort zone and you begin to stress them out a little bit, if they have to live life on life's terms, which doesn't always go your way, there are many challenges and obstacles throughout life, you will begin to see these people not only fail, but have these outbursts that begin to expose that they have Down syndrome. They are mentally retarded. They are completely psychotic. I would even say that many of them are subhuman. They are animalistic. And that is how they have been groomed by the aliens to behave, especially in these occult religious rituals, these human sacrifice rituals. And the rest of them take great joy in witnessing that. These people are subhuman. They are animalistic. They are mildly mentally retarded. They have mild Down syndrome. But it will not always stand out like that when they're on your TV or in the movies or talking to you from Wall Street, discussing finances, using the biggest terms that they could come up with, which are designed to confuse people. They sound brilliant. I must be crazy for calling Peter Schiff a mentally retarded man. But if you take Peter Schiff out of his comfort zone and he begins to experience problems, you'll see his mental state begin to fail almost instantly. And he will begin to regress into exactly what I am accusing these people of being. They are all very articulate when everything has been planned out, when all the money is being flooded into their bank accounts, when everything is going their way. Nobody is smoother and more calm and more intelligent than these people. But as soon as things start to go wrong, you will begin to see these people for what they really are. It is scary what has excelled in our society up to these levels of the most wealthy people in the world. And they owe a great deal of this to the MK Ultra program. And they owe a great deal of this to the aliens which assist them. While I am speaking, you may have noticed that I am experiencing some difficulties, and this has to do with the agents that are connected to me through the MK Ultra program, who are doing whatever they can to get me to bite my tongue, to clamp down on my jaw, to make moving my tongue and moving my jaw difficult, to make speaking very difficult. They are trying to change the way my voice sounds naturally. My face has become extremely rigid. Every time I move my mouth to speak, it is like somebody is trying to hold it down. So the exact opposite has happened to these individuals through the MK Ultra program. The aliens have assisted them, have guided them, have told them what to say, have told them how to lie, has filled them with comfort and ease when they get in front of the cameras and are told to lie to everybody. That same technology has been used to hinder everyone else. Everybody who has gotten real nervous when they've tried out for something. Everybody who has been turned down in a business opportunity. Everybody who has worked real hard to produce something or become good at something and have been hindered by the establishment. The exact opposite has happened with these people. They have used this technology to assist everyone in their network to succeed and do well. So that is why I think it is almost humorous when I turn on the TV and I see that people with Down syndrome are explaining things in documentaries. So I do not feel guilty about saying that anymore. When I see regular people such as myself being attacked by these members of the rich 1% that all have mild Down syndrome, I don't feel guilty about that anymore. Because let me be the first to tell you, people with Down syndrome should not be running things. They have problems controlling themselves. They have low IQ. They have anger problems. Oftentimes they are reproduced through incest. Many of these genetic problems that this class of people have is due to incest. They don't want to marry outside of their class. They don't want to do anything like the middle classes do. They don't want to give any power to the middle classes. So what you have is a race of inbreds, and they are being born with mild Down syndrome. So I think it's almost funny when I turn on the TV and I flip through the channels and I see more and more people with Down syndrome, because that is who is running things. But let me tell everybody, they are not all going to come across like that, but many of them have autism. So autism is another important psychological condition to study, because people with autism are supposed to be brilliant. They're supposed to be geniuses in many cases. There was a movie a few decades ago. It came out in the 80s or the 90s, and it was called Rain Man. And Rain Man was about a mentally retarded man, but he had autism. I think he was called an idiot savant. That is a form of autism. And he was so intelligent that his brother brought him to the casinos, and he was able to use his abilities to beat the games at the casinos using mathematical abilities and calculating the odds. That was how intelligent he was. But if you went into his room and you took something and you moved it, he would go crazy on you. He would become violent. He would lose control and he would go crazy on you. So that is another major condition of the rich 1%. They can memorize things, especially responses. It's a form of AI, or artificial intelligence, that they use in the MK Ultra program. It's like arguing with Rain Man, who is brilliant at coming up with every excuse that he could come up with in a debate. He has memorized millions of responses, so he will look very intelligent. But if one thing was to go wrong in his life, one thing was moved out of place, he would quickly expose that he is not only crazy, but he has severe mental problems. He is mentally retarded. These people should not be running our society, but these are the people who act as politicians. These are the people who act as all your spokespeople on TV, in movies, and in the financial or business sector.
system so we can get some clarity on what's going on out there, because there are many pilots in your situation, but we should have a way of developing a systematic inventory of all of such encounters. Is that right?
Yes.
What was your experience after you came forward?
pretty wild and crazy. I only managed.
Well, it's only been about. Well, I hope you understand that there would be bipartisan rejection of any attempt to vilify, demonize, or engage in other reprisals against our witnesses and people who are telling the truth from their perspective. To account for that response, that seems like a bizarre response.
All right, this agent is Ryan Magnotta, also known as the actor James Ponsoldt. Number one, he is believed to be the son of Joe Pesci. Both of these individuals are extremely short. They are dwarfs. I met Ryan Magnotta in White Plains, New York when I was around 10 or 11 years old. And how I met him was that they were having a block party on their road, which was connected to my road. So I guess they called the city, and the city put a barricade. There's basically what looked like sawhorses with a piece of wood across. So my brother and I were on our bikes, and we kind of rode over to where this barricade was, and Ryan Magnotta was policing the area, and he threatened my brother and I that we couldn't cross that line because it had been sectioned off for their block party. And I think he had a stick in his hand, and he threatened to attack us if we walked onto his side of the street. So that was how I met Ryan Magnotta. He was extremely short. I do not know how old he was. Quite often, they're like 18 or 19 years old, although they look like 10-year-olds. And that is what the MK Ultra program uses for kidnappings. They get a dwarf who is 18, 19, or 20 years old, and they have them approach your son or daughter, acting as children. So your 8 or 9-year-old son or daughter ends up hanging out with a junior agent of the MK Ultra program. So Ryan Magnotta is believed to be one of the handlers of Christopher Reyes, who was discussed in part 1 of this series. Both Christopher Reyes and Ryan Magnotta act as Chief Kenny Stafford, who is the fire chief in Hillsborough, New Hampshire. So here is a clip of Chief Kenny Stafford number 2, also known as Ryan Magnotta, giving a speech on the internet around the time of the COVID pandemic.
Hey everybody, we're going to try something a little different, something we haven't ever done before, but due to the current situation, we're going to try it. So, Chief Kenny, I'm here, we're here, we stand ready to take care of whatever we need to take care of as far as this COVID-19 and other medical and fire conditions that may pop up. I just want to reassure everybody that we are here. We are all healthy as of this time. One of the unfortunate things is we had to close the fire station due to trying to keep us safe. So there is no longer any public allowed inside the fire station to conduct any kind of face-to-face business outside the front lobby until this clears up. And I guess that's really it. Like I said, I wanted to reassure everybody that we are here and we are all healthy. And let's stick together, neighbor helping neighbor. Let's see if we can get through this, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
So Christopher Reyes is believed to be mildly mentally retarded. I think Ryan Magnotta may be a little bit smarter than Christopher Reyes. And when two agents act as the same identity, in this case, Fire Chief Kenny Stafford, it is usually because they are connected through radio frequency technology in the MK Ultra program. And so agents like Ryan Magnotta will coach agents like Christopher Reyes, telling him what to say so that he does not appear to be mentally retarded. Even so, Ryan Magnotta is believed to be psychotic and has a low IQ and also has mild Down syndrome. Once again, this is a genetic disorder that should be studied. Another one of his identities is the director, Baz Luhrmann. So that is an interesting name that he has selected here. Again, these people have hundreds of different identities. They change their identities like we change our clothes. So I looked up the word Baz in different languages, and I found that in Hebrew, Baz typically means the spoils, booty, robbery, or the goods that are taken as plunder. And then his last name is Luhrmann. So that might be a reference to luring people and entrapping people through methods that are utilized by the MK Ultra program. So if you take a look at the Baz Luhrmann look here, this is probably a more natural look of Ryan Magnotta. If you were to disconnect him from people who he is imitating, he will probably resemble somebody like Baz Luhrmann, or he will begin to show signs of mild Down syndrome. You can see in the James Ponsoldt character, he appears to be more of a good guy, more of a wholesome look. That is the same look he had as Ryan Magnotta. That was how I first recognized him. But you can see that this individual could change identities very easily, and you could barely recognize him because all of these agents have a form of schizophrenia and multi-personality disorder. Whoever they are connected to through radio frequency technology in the MK Ultra program, they will become, they will imitate, adopt their mannerisms and personalities and become. Ryan Magnotta also acted as Rudy Siegel, which is another identity that he shares with Christopher Reyes, who was discussed in part 1 of this series. So there is a connection between Christopher Reyes and Ryan Magnotta. Christopher Reyes is believed to be a serial killer who was used in snuff films. So the same is probably true with Ryan Magnotta. All of these agents of the MK Ultra program are believed to be the worst criminals known. Ryan Magnotta also acted as Tom Burke #1 in the Mad Max movie Furiosa. However, if you look up Tom Burke on the internet, it is another individual. It is no longer Ryan Magnotta. So all of these people that I identify in this series, you will notice that they all play the same actors. That is why all are identified with numbers, such as Anthony Hopkins, Paul Newman, Mel Gibson, Mark Hamill, Robin Williams, Dennis Hopper, because all of these men named all take turns playing all of these different actors. This photograph was taken in White Plains, New York in the year 1988 at a birthday party I was having at my house. My mother had just separated from my father, and this was one of the last times that I was at my house in White Plains, New York before we sold it. So if you take a close look at Ryan Magnotta's eyes, you see that they are almond shaped. He almost looks like an elf. And when comparing him to a young girl with Down syndrome, you could begin to see the traits of these agents who have mild Down syndrome. Again, this is believed to be the son of Joe Pesci, the actor Joe Pesci. And many times, these youth agents are produced through relations between siblings or cousins. And that is why they're coming down with genetic problems, such as dwarfism and Down syndrome and mental retardation. This is Ryan McNaughton compared to a Neanderthal. This is not a joke. These people are believed to have high levels of Neanderthal DNA, and that has to do with the alien manipulation of humanity on this planet. So what the aliens have done is they have abducted people, artificially inseminated them, and created a race of people which should be called modern day Neanderthals. And these were the people that were considered to be of royal blood and of the priest class. Those are not two different classes. The aristocrats and members of the royal family all act as priests and as the clergy. That is their religious club that they all belong to. In some reports, people have said the clergy, the priests, and the rabbis, that class of people work with the aristocrats and the royalty. The truth is that they are one single class. They are members of the aristocrats. They are nobility or royalty, and they also act as rabbis and priests. That is the club that they are all part of. And the main point, or the only point of those religions, is human sacrifice. Everybody else is kept dumb to what these priests and rabbis are doing in secret with their secret rituals. Everybody goes to church or temple and they get down on their knees and they pray to God and they attend the religious services held by these serial killers that are involved in mind control, human trafficking, pedophilia, and ritual murder. They are a very violent group of people, in part due to them having chimpanzee DNA. That is what creates a Neanderthal being, a mix of chimpanzee DNA and human DNA. And one of the traits is that the people are very short, because chimpanzees are not very tall. So Neanderthals are not very tall. This is Baz Luhrmann compared to an alien from the movie called Fire in the Sky that was released in 1993. That is a good movie to see because I think that was the first movie where Hollywood exposed that the short gray aliens do not look like they are normally portrayed in Hollywood or in illustrations with the giant almond eyes. That is something like a helmet or a mask that they are wearing. And underneath, these alien beings appear deformed. They appear like they have Down syndrome because they have genetic problems. So the Fire in the Sky movie was based on the reports of a guy that is called Travis Walton. I doubt that is his real name. If you look up Travis Walton right now, it's going to be an agent of the MK Ultra program. However, the movie Fire in the Sky was based on a real event that was reported by a real alien contactee. But I think that they changed his name and invented this Travis Walton character. But the appearance of the short gray alien in this movie is the most realistic that you will see in Hollywood. This is Baz Luhrmann compared to a changeling. That's the best word I could come up with, this being here. It's from the film The Passion of the Christ. And in this film they show dwarves disguised as children in 2 or 3 scenes. And they appear evil and possessed. In one scene, the dwarf is being carried by Lucifer or by Satan. And in another scene, the dwarves are playing with a group of young children. So like I said, these are people that are born usually from incest They have high levels of Neanderthal DNA, and they are used by these religious occult societies to attack regular people. These are greys. These are first generation greys, or biological robots. Okay, this next agent of the MK Ultra program has been identified to be Paul Newman. There were probably older men to act as Paul Newman before he, yet I have identified him to be number one. Paul Newman, number one. So the following information is sourced from newmansown.org. It's the Newman's Own Foundation website. And it said Paul Newman was born in Ohio. He served as a radio man and a gunner in the Navy during the World War II era. And then in 1958, he acted on Broadway in a production called Picnic. I guess following that, he started to act in more movies. And he also put a focus on activism. And he focused on civil rights, gay rights, women's rights, and nuclear disarmament. Then in 1982, Paul Newman and his friend named Hotch, and I guess that is short for A.E. Hotchner, they founded a food company on a bit of a lark. That means just for fun. Founded a food company, and they turned a profit selling salad dressing. Then they did something truly radical when they decided to give it all away to good causes. So I think on Wikipedia, it stated that they decided to produce salad dressing to give to friends. So it did not state on their website what type of salad dressing they were producing. They just showed photographs of Paul Newman and another person stirring a large pot. So I looked it up, and it turned out that they produced olive oil and vinegar salad dressing. So in order to produce olive oil and vinegar salad dressing, you have to buy olive oil, you mix it with vinegar, and then you add some Italian seasonings. Never in my life did I think, hey, I need to sit around and come up with my own salad dressing. It's kind of random. So the idea that Paul Newman and a friend would be bored one day and not happy with the salad dressing at a grocery store and decide to not only start developing their own salad dressing, but then give it away to friends and then start a food company over it, it does not sound realistic. So again, they started the food company in 1982, and by 1988, they created a foundation. And usually foundations are started because they are tax-free foundations. They don't have to pay taxes, or they do not have to pay as much taxes. After 40 years of being in business, the Newman's Own Corporation brags that they were able to give $600 million away to great causes or away to charity. So I don't know if you could believe all of these figures, but in 1 year alone, their gross sales were $600 million. And usually foundations are started because they are tax-free foundations. They don't have to pay taxes, or they do not have to pay as much taxes. That seems to be the more realistic reason about why the Newman's Own Foundation was created. It was to start a food company that didn't have to pay taxes, and they state that it is for charity. But after 40 years in business, they say they were able to give $600 million away to great causes. So I want to know how much they made in those 40 years. So what I remember about the Newman's product line is that suddenly it was in every grocery store in New York State where I lived. And when I moved up to Connecticut, it was also in Connecticut. And when I moved to Massachusetts, it was also in Massachusetts. When I visited my grandparents in California, the Newman's Own was in every store in California. It was like overnight, Newman's Own food products had managed to get into every grocery store across the whole country. This wasn't some little gimmick. This was a giant corporate maneuver by a giant foundation. So Paul Newman has been identified to be a member of the Rothschild family. In the United States, Paul Newman is believed to be a member of the Vanderbilt family as well. I believe that the Vanderbilts were agents. They were agents of the Rothschild family and the royal family of England. I think a quote is that the Vanderbilts had more money than what was in the United States Treasury. So the Vanderbilts were not a normal family. Cornelius Vanderbilt was not a normal businessman who just happened to succeed in business. The Vanderbilt family were agents of the Rothschild family, and they were agents of the royal family from England. So on their website, they gave a list of what they called grantee partners. These were the organizations that received money and support from the Newman's Own Food Corporation. So I think that there are 73 listed, and I read a few of them. One is called Black Girls Cook, and it's based in Miami, Florida, and Baltimore, Maryland. And it says that they help young girls embrace farm-to-table concepts. And it said they received a prize from the Newman's Foundation. So I don't know what a prize is. Possibly that they got funded when Newman's Own sent over coloring books or something. I don't know what a prize is. Then there is also the California Indian Culture and Sovereignty Center. And the description is that they specialize in research into California Indian culture and sovereignty. And if you read on, it says that they identify California natives' problems with accessing traditional foods, and they create strategies to address these issues. So I don't know what that means. They're having trouble finding like grocery products that the California natives had eaten at some point. So they create strategies to address these issues. So it's vague and it seems kind of like a front. Not very important. I would think that the California Indians would have more important things to focus on. And it did not say how the Newman's Own Food Company funded them. And another one I looked up was called the Minds Foundation. And it's a non-profit corporation or an organization founded in India that provides medical, educational, and moral support for patients with mental illnesses. So what is medical support? They're not saying medical treatment. So they're providing educational and moral support. So once again, it does not sound like they're doing much. So I have done a lot of reading. And when they write something like that, you have to read between the lines. And it sounds like this is a CIA or a British intelligence front in different countries. All of these non-for-profit organizations that are created are not to really help people. What they are doing sounds vague. If you are a person who lives in India with mental illnesses, you could go to the Minds Foundation and receive moral support. If they truly wanted to help these people, they would get them medical treatment or housing. So what happens with these fronts is it's just a place for these rich people like the Rothschild family, like Paul Newman, or Mel Gibson, or Mark Hamill, or David Rothschild, to go to and act as executives and act like they are philanthropists or activists, when in reality, the reason they set up these organizations is so they could find out who is in need, who is having problems. And then they get to toy with those people more through the MK Ultra program. If you go to them for help, they will figure out ways to make your lives worse and target you while acting like they are some charity group. If you look up the Wikipedia page on David Rothschild, it says that he is an adventurer and he is going to be the heir to the Rothschild fortune. He is an adventurer and he likes to pretend that he is a philanthropist at times, along with Paul Newman and all the rest of these rich people who have different identities, and they like to travel to India or Africa or South America and mingle with the natives down there while acting like they're humanitarians or philanthropists, when in reality they are none of those things. They are there to hurt, exploit, and kill people. This is the most greedy family that has ever existed. They do not want to help anybody. The idea that Newman's own food company developed itself for charity work to donate money is a joke when you find out that Paul Newman is a member of the Rothschild family that makes their money through MK Ultra program-based crimes, through financial crimes, through organized crime. This is one of the worst families in the world, and they are related to the royal family of England and to the Vanderbilt family that also made a huge amount of money, a giant amount of money, and then lost it all. The official story is after making all this money in the United States, they lost it all. The truth is that it found its way back to England because they are agents of England. So all over the world, you are going to find these front organizations that act like they are there to help people. But if you were to ever go to them for help, you would find out real quick it's a way to waste your time and employ these successful rich people. They love to pretend that they're something they're not. They always like to take on new identities and disguise themselves as different people and then go pretend they're something they're not. They depend on that. They do it for their own ego. They do it so that you will love them. They do it for their own benefit. They do it to stab you in the back. They do it to manipulate people. They do it for organized crime. They do it to steal from you. So Paul Newman, number one, has also been identified to be Richard Dreyfuss. So Richard Dreyfuss was in a movie called American Graffiti. So if you want to do a search for Richard Dreyfuss in American Graffiti, you will see quite plainly that he appears to have mild Down syndrome, like all these rich people do. These rich people are more than greedy. These rich people are more than crazy. These rich people are extremely dumbed down androids. These rich people are extremely dumbed down clones that are produced through incest, through these extremely wealthy families in the aristocrat class, in the noble or royal class. So Paul Newman, number one, also known as Scott Wilson, the actor Scott Wilson, also known as Richard Dreyfuss, number one. He is also known as the serial killer Robin Gecht, number two. He is one of the men photographed as Robin Gecht. I believe that he is related. He is the brother, or he is the cousin of Robin Gecht, number one, identified to be Mark Hamill, identified to be the actor Anthony Hopkins, also known as Stanley Kubrick, number two, also known as Mark Hamill, number two. Robin Gecht is a serial killer that was part of the Ripper crew. These aristocrats are all into human sacrifice. These aristocrats are extremely greedy. They are psychotic, and they are also bloodthirsty. They are into human trafficking. They are into slavery. They are into murder for entertainment. or human sacrifice rituals, or snuff film shows. That is their only interest. That is why they like traveling to different countries or areas where there are people that go to them for help, because they get to meet them and find out their address and find out who lives with them and who their kids are. They find out all of their personal information by interviewing them or making the people fill out applications. And they use this all against them. And then they say they are humanitarians or philanthropists, when in fact they are serial killers. So there are 5 men who are believed to be related. They are members of the Rothschild family, and they are members of the royal family of England. And in the United States, they are related to the Vanderbilt family. They say that family went extinct, but the truth is that they just changed their names, most often by stealing people's identities who they killed in the United States. So I will go over a list of 5 individuals who are believed to be in charge of this serial killing program called the MK Ultra program. They are all members of the English royal family. They are all part of the British military. And that is John Hines number 2, also known as Dr. Robert DeSena, who is the veterinarian shown earlier in this video. Number 2, Dale Red Fox, also known as Anthony Hopkins number 1, also known as Stanley Kubrick number 2, also known as Mark Hamill number 2, also known as the serial killer Robin Gecht, who was mentioned in part 1 of this video series. actor Scott Wilson, also known as Paul Newman #1, also known as Dennis Hopper, also known as Richie Pace #2. Number 4, King Charles #2, also known as the serial killer Ted Bundy, also known as Richie Pace #1. He is the brother of Jim Pace, also known as the actor Robert De Niro, who is my mother's boyfriend. Number 5 is Jim Pace, also known as Robert De Niro.
You can talk. Well, Clarabelle, this is your last chance. Now, Clarabelle, if you can talk, prove it. Let's hear you say something. Goodbye, kids.
Went with Buffalo Bob, and you're still touring with Buffalo Bob, right?
Yeah, we do quite a few shopping malls around the country.
Boy didn't know, he thought he was pointing at the pumpkin over there on the set. So he went over there and just proceeded to put out the candle.
So I believe that I was introduced to Richie Pace around the year 2003 or 2004. He was at my mother's boyfriend's condominium in Danbury, Connecticut, when I was invited over there for dinner one night. And what I remember is that Richie Pace, also known as Paul Newman #1, also known as the actor Scott Wilson, he was sitting on a sofa and he was glaring at me. He was just staring at me as if he didn't like me. So he's sitting there glaring at me, and I kind of smile at him, and I do not pay it much mind. That was what I was used to with these old men. They were always very grumpy. They always had bad attitude problems. And the reason why is that they were agents of the MK Ultra program who hate Americans and hate young men like me, John Harwood. And then later, I recognized him to be Lou Anderson, who was being interviewed on a show called Beyond Vaudeville. I found it on the internet, on YouTube, and from there, I identified him to be the actor Scott Wilson. So you may recognize some of these people by one of their lesser known acting identities, like Scott Wilson. If you ask most people, they will not know Scott Wilson, but they will definitely know a name like Paul Newman or Richard Dreyfuss. So what you will notice is that these members of these aristocrat families, they will act under hundreds of different professional names, and that is to limit the amount of people in the public eye. All of these men have multi-personality disorder. They're all trained as actors to appear normal. In reality, I am not exaggerating when I say that they have mild Down syndrome or mild mental retardation. They are taught, starting at a young age, to transform into regular people who they imitate. All of these men have multi-personality disorder. They're all trained as actors to appear normal. In reality, I am not exaggerating when I say that they have mild Down syndrome or mild mental retardation. They are taught, starting at a young age, to transform into regular people who they imitate. They will actually take these people and put them around regular kids and teach them to befriend regular kids who they will begin to imitate so that they will appear more normal. Because in reality, these kids are being molested at home by the older agents of the MK Ultra program, who are very often homosexual and bisexual. So I am going to include a list of all the documentaries that group of 5 men are mentioned in. So Paul Newman, number 1, also known as the actor Scott Wilson, has been identified to be the uncle of an agent named Jeff Burks, who I met when I was about 14 years old. He lived on my block in Brookfield, Connecticut, when I moved to Brookfield, Connecticut from White Plains, New York. Jeff Burks was a youth agent of the MK Ultra program. He was under the control of men like Scott Wilson, also known as Paul Newman, Jim Pace, also known as the actor Robert De Niro, Dale Red Fox, also known as the actor Anthony Hopkins, also known as Stanley Kubrick number 2, also known as Robin Gecht number 1, who is a serial killer, and John Hines number 2, also known as Dr. Robert DeCina, also known as Mel Gibson, also known as Michael Aquino, and King Charles number 2, also known as the serial killer Ted Bundy, also known as one of the men who acted as the former director of the FBI, named Christopher Wray. He was discussed along with these other men in part 1 of this series. So this is the list of very interesting documentaries where this network is mentioned and their youth agents. So Jeff Burks, who is one of their kids, who is under the control of these older agents, has been identified to be Anderson Cooper, the reporter Anderson Cooper, who wrote a book about being related to the Vanderbilt family. Jeff Burks number 2 has been identified to be the actor Ben Foster. He is also one of the men who acted as Doyle Shamley, who was supposedly a researcher or an activist who won the trust of William Cooper. And a short time later, William Cooper was set up to be shot and killed and then blamed for that entire scenario. That was a program of the MK Ultra program. Jeff Burks number 2, also known as the actor Ben Foster, also known as one of the men who act as Doyle Shamley, also has many different actor names, and he is covered in the documentary series entitled Murder Lake, where he is identified as Josh, who is my next door neighbor. This is the son or the nephew of actor Paul Newman number 1, also known as Richie Pace number 2, also known as Scott Wilson. He is the nephew or the son of Jim Pace, also known as the actor Robert De Niro. In the Murder Lake series, I did not identify him to be the actor Ben Foster. I identified him by some of his other identities and actor names.
You happen to know where it is?
Where what is?
Where the pin is over here?
No, I do not know where the pin is.
Was there ever a pin here? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, what they told me is this is state wetlands over here.
It can be whatever it is. It's still my property.
It's still your property. Okay, because I should have introduced myself when we moved in.
You should have, but that's fine. That's why in COVID life is COVID life. That's why I'm standing over here, you know, and it's been...
Excellent.
It's nice to meet you, though, finally.
Yeah, so...
You don't have a pin over here, you're saying? There's no sort of pin you've ever seen?
There was a flag. There's an orange flag that was there.
Yeah, where is that? Can you show me?
Yeah, sure.
Shamley, a Gulf War veteran and Army reservist, had paralleled Bill's quest for answers. The two met at a research conference Doyle had been arranging, and soon the two became tight research allies. Doyle would eventually leave the reserve and join Bill in Arizona to conduct full-time research up until Bill's death.
Then he realized his research at the time was heavily with Lars Hansen and many of them in the UFO realm. And he realized that most of them, and a lot of them upon admittal, and I have the documents, admitted to working for, either in the past or still being on CIA payroll. Essentially, by July 98, I was moved here with Bill to conduct full-time research into the mystery schools and secret societies and the government protocols in general, and news crews and all whatnot, they had put out that Bill is not to be let back in that house alive. It was premeditated. It was put out, Bill will not be allowed back in alive.
So this is the list of very interesting documentaries where this network is mentioned and their youth agents.